You're listening to the Grind Line Podcast.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Line Podcast. I'm your host, Greg. You're listening to episode 325, and the Red Wings officially did not win the draft lottery. But Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
Unsurprised.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was surprised. Actually, I think more people would have been surprised if we would have stayed in our regular position than what the Red Wings did, which was fall one spot to 13th.
Another year of the lottery, another year of the Red Wings gaining nothing. Didn't Max put out an article like last year or 2 years ago stating that since the lottery's been brought in, they've been one of the worst teams in terms of luck and losing positions?
I would assume they would be the worst team considering they have never moved up and they have fallen more often than not. So I would consider them one of the worst, but that is something we are going to get to tonight. We have a couple of little news pieces off the top. Moritz Seider is the captain of Team Germany for the IIHF 2025 Men's World Championships. C looks good on Mo. It's a really tiny, I have the pic, if you're watching on YouTube, again, if you're not watching on YouTube, you can go watch on YouTube and sub to us and everything. The C on the jersey is a patch. It is not a like sewn on C. It is a patch. It is real tiny right up on the corner of his shoulder. I don't like the design of the logo looks cool, but I don't like the design of the rest of the jersey.
Westminster, whatever it is on there. Is that their actual jerseys for this?
I would assume so. The German team posted this picture.
Yeah, that's disappointing because usually they've got some pretty stellar looking uniforms.
Yeah, Germany, because of one of the best color combinations in colors is black, yellow, and red, and they normally make it look really fucking good with like the badass German eagle logo.
Yeah, they usually embrace the seal. I don't know.
This is now the Deutscher Eishockeybund, which is the German hockey ice hockey team. But the logo does nothing for me.
No, the jersey does too, and that's just the front of it. You can see they got the eagle on the collar. You see that right there in the top middle?
Yeah, in gray on a black jersey. Is that what that is?
That's got to be the focus. I mean, of all the things that pissed me off of the last several years with jerseys, theirs was one of the better ones. That's on your own country for the jersey, though, because usually for the organized events, that's where you get into like a Nike or one of the main brands taking over, isn't it?
I thought even the Worlds were branded. No, yeah, because these are Bauer jerseys.
Like, I'm thinking of the more specific branded events where you've got like Nikes doing across the board, or like Adidas or Fanatics with Four Nations had all the jerseys and stuff. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, if it's NHL sponsored, you're going to get your jersey sponsor to do the jerseys for it, which would be Fanatics.
World Cup was all the Adidas.
Yep. Four Nations face off was Fanatics.
Yep.
So that would make sense. But I had Ryan pull up the German roster, and it's
hopefully
Moritz
that's
Seider.
Actually right.
The only names that I recognize on it are Moritz Seider, Philipp Grubauer, who's the goalie for the Seattle Kraken. You've got Lucas Reichel, who plays for Chicago Blackhawks, and you have former, I think Dominic Cahoon played in the NHL. The name is familiar. He is not in the NHL anymore, but his name is on the list. And then what'd you say, Ryan? Timmy is going to think about playing?
Apparently, from the posting that I pulled, Stützle should have a decision by Wednesday. So when this is posted, this will probably be out.
Cool. So the rosters haven't been finalized. They've been playing prelim games. The other piece of news was that Simon Edvinsson, in a 6-2 win over Finland in prelims, had 3 assists in 21 minutes and 38 seconds of ice time, which is that's a good chunk of ice time, and that's what he should be playing consistently next season, is around there. And honestly, if we're being honest with ourselves, be playing with Mo Seider all of next season, because you need to pick up a second pair left defenseman. But it's a good showing for Edvinsson. We know Edvinsson has offensive talent. You just have to put him in a position to, show that he has offensive talent.
Mm-hmm. No, it's what you want to see as a Wings fan. And unfortunately, another year has gone by and we're having the same conversation about the Worlds. So it is what it is. But I mean, you've got so your top prospects are in Grand Rapids right now playing, which unfortunately they also look like hot garbage. You've got your top players ideally going to play overseas for their country. And that's fantastic. And that's what you would hope for. So to see Sider and several others in Edmonton, those like your top defensemen out there looking good, that's all you can ask for. Is the competition going to be the best? It's going to be close for the most part. I mean, you've got what McKinnon or not? McKinnon, Crosby, and frickin' Marc-Andre Fleury announced recently for Canada, so they're not messing around for.
It'd be a fucking bloodbath.
Yeah, it could be rough. Who knows what USA is bringing to the table entirely? I mean, it's going to be interesting because you do still have some of the top players from countries in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but that also actually hinders USA a little bit. That fact, so we'll see how it shakes out. I mean, the Worlds usually are more exciting for the U20, U18s. That's where the true craziness happens. But these are still pretty serious. And as we heard going back to the Four Nations, I mean, Larkin was harping for the top talent from the US to step up and get into it. So it'll be fun.
Another note on that, apparently Tage Thompson is likely to play for Team USA at the Worlds as well. That would be really, I mean, the US always puts together a good team, and there are a lot of players that are already eliminated from the playoffs that could go. But again, this happens at the same time as playoffs. So you don't really get your best, but you do still put together some really good teams. On a Griffins note, though, Michael Brandsig-Nygaard did score a goal, a beautiful, like right in front of the net, and his release is so fast, and his shot is so hard. And it's, I mean, an exciting moment for a rookie to be put in a situation that he was put in, a high pressure playoff situation, even though the Griffins are getting rocked and they've already lost 2 games.
I mean, he had 2 points on the night.
But he's able to get into a situation like that and actually play a big role and be effective on your, third game on North American ice. He's looked good. The 2 games I watched him in looked good offensively, had some good chances. There are things that he's going to have to adjust to as time goes on, which is the smaller ice generally. But he's been effective and he was rewarded. So I'm really happy with how he has looked so far.
No, like I said a little bit ago, you got your top prospects playing in Grand Rapids. You got him and ASP down there. You got several other Wallanders playing a big role. Are they playing great? Not really, unfortunately, but it is what it is. As long as we go back to what we've recently stated, where as long as they're learning from the experience and just becoming better hockey players, that's all we can hope for. Because obviously, we're not in the playoffs, the Red Wings, and we're just now twiddling our thumbs, hoping that these young guys are going to be good enough to be in Detroit here in the next year.
So speaking of young guys now, let's talk draft. So
okay,
before break, we'll just talk about what happened. The Detroit Red Wings had a 8.9% chance of dropping, and they dropped. What's worse is that the New York Islanders moved up 9 spots to pick 1. And the Utah Hockey Club, soon to be, I'm assuming, the Utah Mammoths next season, move up.
Was that? Where did that get changed on? Was it YouTube?
I don't know. I just know that that was really almost the consensus pick after they said something like Venom couldn't be used. That would have been the coolest name. But Utah Mammoths, I think, is what it's going to be. Move up 10 spots to number 4. Knocking Nashville down, Philly down, Boston down, Seattle, Buffalo, Anaheim, Pittsburgh, the Rangers, us, and Columbus all fell, as well as San Jose falling a spot and Chicago falling a spot. So your order, top 10, is the Islanders, the Sharks, the Blackhawks, the Utah Hockey Club, the Preds, Flyers, Bruins, Kraken, Sabres, and Ducks. That is your top 10. The Red Wings will pick 13th. The last time the Detroit Red Wings had a top 3 pick, do you know this off the top of your head?
A top 3 pick?
A top 3 pick, Ryan.
Was it, oh my God, I should know this.
If I give you the year, can you guess the player?
Possibly.
1990. They had the number 3 pick. Keith Primo in the 1990 NHL Draft pick 3. Last time the Red Wings had the number 1 pick was the 80s, and that was not a good time.
Yeah, I was thinking third Lidstrom from '89 draft, because that was the best draft in terms of output I think that Detroit's ever had.
Just players that end up playing meaningful minutes in the NHL.
Well, Mike Sillinger, 1,000 games. Bob Bugner, 630. Lidstrom, 1,500. Fedorov, 1,200. Dallas Drake, 1,000. Konstantinov, only 446. Would have played probably 8 to 100 to 1,000 games.
Yep.
That group was stacked, man.
Well, that was the Russian influence right there.
Mhm.
You
Well,
you
then the
weren't
next-
afraid to go get Russian players.
Yep, because the next year they took Slav Kozlov. See, who I was originally going to go with, I don't know why I was thinking Paul Coffey for some reason. I was thinking defense, but I was originally thinking Marty LaPointe, but that was 91. So I was a year off either way.
Yeah, so you're looking at the last time the Red Wings had top 3 pick, 1990, Keith Primo. And again, they do not get one at 13. Now, this is where we have the conversation of, and we talked about a little bit on Discord, do the Red Wings trade the pick? Because you're not getting an impact player at 13 that is going to at least be an impact player anytime soon. You're looking at least probably D+3 before you see that pick, or D+2 if you're lucky in seeing that pick play any kind of NHL time. And you're in a position where you need to start moving this forward. So do you consider trading the pick if it means you can get an impact player now and potentially get rid of a contract that you no longer want?
Well, here's the double-edged sword, because I'm going to name off the 13th overall picks really the last several years. Frank Nazar, who's having a decent time. Matt Coronado, who just signed a very big extension with the Flames. Seth Jarvis, one of the Hurricanes' top forwards. Spencer Knight, up and down, but one of the better goalies, younger goalies in the NHL still. Ty Dellandrea for the Dallas. Nick Suzuki, name sounds familiar. Let's see.
And that was sarcasm, guys. Ryan knows who Nick Suzuki is.
Yeah. Jake Vrana, Josh Morrissey, one of the top defensemen out there, who unfortunately is currently hurt. Radek Faksa, Sven Barchi. Wow, that's a name I haven't heard for a while. Zach Cassian. I'm getting way back there now, but there's some good. Dustin Brown, LA Kings. Alex Hemsky, Ron Hainsey. There's some good players that have been taken at 13.
Sure, but are you looking more for let's keep stocking this cupboard? Like, was Yzerman not trading?
I don't think you have that flexibility at this point. And I'm not saying that it's not worth having it. Like, you go to, let's look at Seth Jarvis real quick. Let's just take as a for instance. How long did it take him? Let's go over to Hockey Reference. We know the impact that he's making for Carolina right now, right?
He was drafted in 2020 and played his first NHL season in 2021-22.
Yeah, and that was technically a full season. He had he had a quick ascension. He had a quicker ascension than I thought. But he still was a year out plus from actually making it to the team. He had a good time. He played quite well with Chicago. Looks like he went from Portland to Chicago, I'm guessing. And then
he went from the
roster.
Chicago Wolves he played a little bit of time for the Chicago Wolves, 9 games in the AHL, went back to Portland, played with Portland Winterhawks, 24 games, had 27 points, and then started the next season in Carolina.
Is that too high of a bar?
I think that it's more, not too high of a bar, I would say, but I think that's your ceiling, I would think. Now, if you look at floors for 13 overall picks, I just think there's a much more wide margin of error in picking at 13 than there is picking at 4, picking at 5. I just think that the talent gap could it could fluctuate far more. So you've got your Seth Jarvis at what I would say is the top. That's what you're really hoping for out of a 13th pick. This season in 73 games has 67 points. I mean, he's a true impact player. But do you have the luxury of drafting that guy, waiting, and then hoping you can sign some big name free agents to get you into the playoffs while a guy like that develops? Or were you waiting to see if you won the lottery? Now you know you didn't. Can you now trade that pick?
Potentially, because I mean, the flip side is a Nick Suzuki, drafted by Vegas, obviously used as trade bait. He took 3+ years to actually hit the NHL with Montreal, and then it was a steady rise to get to the point where we're seeing him now as one of the better centers in the league. Unfortunately, to that point, Detroit really doesn't have that luxury. Flip side of that, I mean, Suzuki still came in. He saw playoffs his first 2 years in the league. Granted, one was the COVID season. Ironically enough, I think that was the year they made it to the Cup Finals in 2021. I think for what the core is at, where things are at in general, if you can package this first round pickup for an NHL ready player that's going to be impactful, like what we saw with the DeBrincat trade, maybe you do have to throw in a sweetener. You do it, in my opinion. I don't think that you can be flat-footed, and there's a very different tone with Yzerman in his end of year presser. He came out with his freaking cliff notes on the side. Maybe there is more aggressiveness in him at mid-cup. Maybe it's at the draft. Maybe we see that. Actually, it's all like the NFL this year, isn't it? No one's going to be at the same spot.
Yeah, I think it's a centralized draft, I believe, this season.
So maybe we see that video of him making a phone call to make a deal. I don't know. To me, you do it. I don't think you hoard that capital for this year's draft picks, unless there's someone you absolutely love, which they probably do for a first round pick. But at the same time, when can that be impactful for you? If you can go get someone now that's mid-20s with the high first round, mid first round pick, you do it.
And then maybe there's also always the possibility of packaging that pick with another one to move up, or packaging that pick with a player and another pick to move up in the draft. Now, that's less likely that you're going to move into like the top 5 where you'd probably want to move, but that is also a possibility that's out there. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about what we would like to see, or at least what I would like to see, what makes most sense in kind of, instead of doing a lottery, making it a little bit more of a level playing field and truly giving the teams that are bad, that try to be good, a better pick. So 1 second, we'll be back. Word from our sponsors for segment 2. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, or more? It's your call. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And we're back. So we have talked about how the draft had gone horribly wrong for the Detroit Red Wings,
Was it really horribly wrong, or was it just expected? It's expected.
Disappointing, but we're used to draft lottery disappointment over and over and over and over again. So how do we fix it? And we had talked a little bit, probably talked about this on the show before, but it's worth bringing up again.
It's been a while.
It's worth bringing up again. So if don't follow Haley Salvian over at The Athletic, she did a really good write-up on this. And with the introduction of the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, they are going by what the NHL should be going by. So they're using what's called the gold plan. So to quote Haley, the concept goes like this. Instead of a lottery system that encourages losing by awarding the best odds to the league's worst teams, the league would determine the draft order based on the number of points each team earns after being eliminated from the playoffs. The idea was first introduced at MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference in 2012 by Adam Gold. which is why it is called the gold plan. So basically what would happen is once you are mathematically, so in the PWHL, once you're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, you begin to earn draft order points in all subsequent games using the league's standard point system. The team with the most draft order points at the end of the regular season is awarded the first overall draft pick. The second non-playoff team will have the second overall pick. Playoff teams will select 3 through 6 based on inverse order of regular season standings. So you're actually awarded for trying to win after you've been eliminated. And we know the Red Wings are really good at winning after there's nothing to win for. That is what they've been doing, especially this season. But that I can't really think of a more fair system. They say it mitigates tanking. It stops GMs from just bringing in kids who have never played in the NHL in the name of giving them experience. But you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to increase their draft odds in some cases. But I think that this is a much fairer system because a lottery overall really doesn't make sense.
No, it's dumb. And the same thing for basketball. We saw with the Pistons and their horrible luck with that as well, even though they actually did gain out pretty well one year. To your point, yeah, you don't go back to the worst team like the NFL. The worst team gets it because we've seen with that, those terrible teams really, unless they have really good management and coaching, they're not going to improve. And really, a lot of it does fall to coaching on the football side.
I also feel like, though, Ryan, it's much easier to tank in football than it is in hockey.
Oh, totally. You can absolutely get away with it that way. But I mean, to the point about certain teams bringing in the youth, by that point in the season, that's what a lot of your fan base is clamoring for, because you're already over half these guys on expiring deals that likely won't be coming back. So you might as well try to bring somebody in for a short time. What if you can keep it under the 9 games and get a contract slide, even better. But use your time wisely. Get your young players some NHL experience, and maybe you luck out with Detroit and play everyone that's in the playoffs finishing out the season, so they're seeing what top competition looks like. I wouldn't be against this. This way, you know that there's going to be effort, but at the same time, you look at, yeah, you said Detroit keeps winning when they get eliminated. At the same token, a lot of what we saw was what we saw throughout the season up until the March collapse again.
I think what this really does, though, is it does give the worst teams a better chance, because if you're really bad, you're mathematically eliminated earlier in the season. And at that point you go, you know what, guys, now we're playing to get a better draft pick. We are trying our hardest because we didn't get far enough to make the playoffs, but now we do really have a chance to really win something else. It's basically like, now that because we're out of the playoffs, now we're trying to win to improve our team. We know that getting this better draft pick is going to improve our team. Now, would that have helped the Red Wings this season? Not really, because we only had a handful of games after we were eliminated, which we would have been able to get points for. But would this have helped the Red Wings in the season where we were the worst team in the league and still didn't get a top 3 pick? It would have absolutely helped us there. So it's not going to probably help us going forward, because I don't see the Red Wings being bad enough, and I'm going to knock on wood, being bad enough anytime soon to take advantage of something like this, to be thrust into that position where we are eliminated super early and would have to start earning points. But I think overall, it is a much fairer system to the teams that are bad. And I think it would up the level of play just overall throughout the entirety of the last part of the season, because teams still, even if they're not playing for playoffs, have things to play for.
And I think this was kind of mentioned in some of the exit interviews, even or toward the end of the season, one of the two. It's not like the end of the season for these bad teams is all for naught, because a lot of these guys are still trying to play to maintain a job. Like I mentioned with the expiring contracts, there's certain ones, yeah, you don't want to see out there, and that's where you want the youth push to hit. But many of these guys are trying to get a new contract, whether it's with where they're at, say the Red Wings, or that for another team that they're going up against, that they're scouts in-house, that they can get their future set in place. Like it does go back to, yeah, that's what is the fun part about hockey, is that it's anything can happen with it. I don't know. I hate the lottery system. It's just dumb. It's never appropriate. Like either you get rid of it and go back to the worst team gets it, or you go to something like this. This makes the most sense in my mind. We've talked about this, I think, the last couple of seasons, to be honest.
Every time we lose the lottery, that's when we talk about it.
Incentivize it, make it worth fighting for a lack of better words, because I'd be intrigued as to going back and trying to identify when certain teams were eliminated the last couple seasons to see how that would influence the draft rankings. Going back to that year where Detroit was just god awful, seeing where they would have, like how things would have played out. I might have to go mess with that.
Well, you can let us know what you think about the gold system. You can comment on our YouTube video. You can actually also comment, if you're listening on Spotify, you can comment on Spotify like episodes now. And I've answered a bunch of people on Spotify episodes. But you can also, just reach out to us and let us know what you think on social media too. Ryan, quick thought. What do you think of Pronger on the broadcast?
I honestly didn't have anything on because we were watching musicals and Disney Pixar videos on YouTube. So if you read his rant today, I shouldn't say rant, a thread about hockey hits and the sort, go check it out. But what are your thoughts on it? Because I forgot he was actually going to be on there this evening.
Good. Pronger's a smart guy. For as much as he got hit in the head, he's a smart guy. And I think it adds when I think it's a good offset to someone like PK. And you're right, his thread about like, this is not like, you can't let that head hit to Stolarz go unpunished because it sets a bad precedent. If you're trying to lessen impact like that, you can't let a goalie hit go unpunished. But I do like that. I think it's a good kind of offset to what PK brings to a broadcast. So I'm enjoying what Pronger's bringing to the broadcast. So it's a welcome addition for me.
Very good.
Cool. Final thoughts, Ryan, before we sign off tonight.
Hockey's fun until it's a lottery. We need to stop being in the lottery because then it'd be more fun. Already Ryan 33.
Yeah, I don't really have any final thoughts tonight. You can follow me online at Bringing the Win. You can follow the Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. Give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network and thank them for hosting us and spreading us around. Vintage Detroit, which is the only place you should get your Detroit jerseys from and worked on, and where we have an exclusive t-shirt collection. If you go to their website, click the Keep It Local tab, click the Grindline Podcast, you'll find all our stuff there. You can go follow us on social media at Grindline Pod and sub to us on YouTube. Turn on those notifications. You'll get notified whenever an episode goes live. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.